At Wicked Edge, we get asked about how to sharpen unusual blade shapes all the time, such as Tantos, false edges, fully flat ground or saber ground or distally tapered blades, fully curved blades like Karambits, or recurved blades like this big chopper. We will begin with the Tanto. I am clamping this blade off of the top depth keyhole, since it is narrow, but yours may be different. I will then proceed to treat my two sections of the blade independently, my main blade and my Tanto blade, separated by this Tanto point here. Now we want to keep this Tanto point sharp, so I want to make sure I am not rounding over it with my stones as I'm sharpening. So to combat this, just keep that stone nice and parallel to that blade surface. When I've finished my grip progression, I will reclamp the blade so that the Tanto blade is as close to horizontal and parallel with the top of the vise as I can get it. I will then redo my entire sharpening process, making sure, again, not to round over that Tanto point, because I don't want it to dull out. Next up, we'll be looking at blades with false edges. This is going to be the sloping part on the spine of the knife that looks like it could be sharp but isn't. So I'm going to look for any parallel spot on the blade, in this case by the thumb stud, and I'm going to clamp it there, oftentimes with the tip of the blade pointing down. This will depend on your knife though, of course. Then sharpen as usual. Another knife type we get questions about a lot are Spyderco, since they're oddly shaped and are often fully flat ground and distally tapered. Now, to clamp this, I'm going to look at the Spidey hole, place that about halfway into the front side of my vise, with the spine resting fully on the prongs of my depth key in the top depth key holes, and then I will just sharpen as usual. Probably the most questioned style of knife we get is the Karambit, since they look like they'd be hard to sharpen. Most important thing is when I'm clamping this blade, I want to make sure the heel and the tip of the blade are about level and even with the top of the vise as I can get them. The tip and the heel are in a nice horizontal flat line if you drew an imaginary line between them. Now I will just sharpen as usual. The stone may twist a little bit in my hand to match the curve of that blade, and you will hit it with the sides of the stone rather than the center, but that is completely normal. Now, last but not least, we have big bellied recurved blades, and in this case, quite a long one. I will clamp this as I would any blade, with the belly at about the back of the vise. Now I'm free to sharpen as usual, and due to the sharpener's geometry, those stones will actually track over all of the curves. In this case, I'm going to do the blade in sections because it is so long.